It is a bizarre, alien-looking piece of porous foam. It has been universally mocked as the ugliest shoe on Earth. Yet, somehow, this exact material conquered high fashion and generated $4.1 billion in revenue in a single year. To understand how, we have to go back to 2002. Three friends on a sailing trip in the Gulf of Mexico discovered an unusual shoe made by a Canadian injection molding company. It was completely waterproof, dried instantly, and repelled odor. This diagram illustrates exactly how it works. The shoe is made from a proprietary closed-cell resin called Croslite. While the foam maintains a rigid outer structure, radiant body heat actually softens the material over time, allowing it to perfectly contour to the unique shape of the wearer's foot. Weighing a mere 70 grams, it had a flawless grip on wet surfaces. For boating, it was an engineering marvel. For the general public, it was completely hideous. In November 2002, the founders brought their new product to the Florida Boat Show. They priced it at an accessible $30. The immediate reaction from the crowd was outright laughter, but that laughter quickly mutated into morbid curiosity. So many people stopped to mock and try on the strange Swiss cheese-style clogs that it created a massive bottleneck on the convention floor. The crowd grew so dense that the local fire marshal had to use a megaphone to break it up. Selling 1,000 pairs in a single weekend, the founders realized they had struck a nerve. They named the shoe Crocs, inspired by the amphibious nature of crocodiles, leaned heavily into the bizarre aesthetic, and rode that momentum straight to the largest footwear IPO in American history. Ugliness, they discovered, was actually a highly effective market arbitrage. It functioned as an organic marketing mechanism that made the shoe physically impossible to ignore. By 2007, that impossible-to-ignore design had achieved extreme cultural saturation. You could find Crocs in sporting goods stores, airport kiosks, 7-Elevens, and even on the feet of the President of the United States. But inside the company, an identity crisis was brewing. Management grew embarrassed by the very foam clogs that made them rich. They desperately wanted the market to take them seriously as a prestigious fashion brand. This chart shows the resulting operational bloat. Starting from that single, simple clog, Crocs rapidly spun out 250 different models, including golf shoes, sneakers, and even a line of luxury high heels priced at $280. By chasing prestige and churning out traditional footwear, management completely diluted the highly specific, functional identity that gave Crocs a reason to exist in the first place. As the brand flooded the market, cultural fatigue set in. That fatigue quickly morphed into outright hostility. Teenagers launched websites dedicated to the elimination of Crocs, posting viral videos of the shoes being blown up with firecrackers and cut to pieces with scissors. The reputational damage peaked when Time magazine officially declared the shoe one of the 50 worst inventions in human history. Then, the 2008 global financial crisis hit. This macroeconomic shock collided directly with consumer exhaustion, completely paralyzing the company's cash flow. This dual-axis graph visualizes the catastrophic miscalculation. As the company's valuation plummeted from 24,000 crore rupees down to just 300 crore, they were left choking on $248 million of dead stock. That was nearly 30 million pairs of unsold shoes sitting in warehouses. External auditors began preparing the death certificate, warning that the company could collapse at any moment. Crocs was dying because it had become entirely too visible, and management was too ashamed of its own hero product to see a way out. Just as the market prepared for bankruptcy, the private equity firm Blackstone threw the company a $200 million lifeline. They brought in a top management consultant named Andrew Rees to execute a turnaround. When Rees audited the books, he found something baffling. The original, ugly clog, the actual foundation of the entire brand, was being actively suppressed by the company. It accounted for only 16% of their total revenue. Rees initiated a brutal triage. He systematically killed off the bloated fashion lines. He shut down over 160 underperforming stores. Finally, he closed the company's own manufacturing plants, migrating everything to an asset-light contract manufacturing model in Asia to drastically cut overhead. By forcing Crocs to abandon its delusion of becoming a premium fashion brand, Rees stripped the company down to its studs. Survival now depended entirely on their original fundamental product. Back in 2005, a mother had casually decorated her kids' Crocs with plastic rhinestones, creating a side business called Jibbitz. Crocs bought the company for $20 million, but previous management had largely ignored it. Rees saw its true potential. This wireframe reveals the math behind his strategy. Every classic Croc has exactly 26 holes. If a customer buys a $50 base shoe and plugs a $5 charm into every single hole, the maximum revenue jumps to $130 per pair. This pivot created a specific psychological advantage. Jibbitz turned the shoe from a static piece of apparel into a customizable blank canvas, providing a vehicle for Gen Z self-expression. Crocs effectively built a high-margin razor and blades business model. They took the shoe's most mocked physical feature, the holes, and turned it into their most lucrative asset. To validate this new canvas, the company pursued limited edition collaborations. In 2018, they partnered with pop culture figures like rapper Malone, selling out entire production runs in just 10 minutes. They pushed this ironic appeal to its limit, infiltrating luxury runways through collaborations with brands like Balenciaga. They stopped trying to emulate high fashion and started forcing high fashion to react to them. Then, the COVID-19 lockdowns collided with the explosive growth of TikTok. Millions of users were stuck at home, prioritizing comfort, spending their time customizing their shoes and generating billions of views and free publicity. Revenues skyrocketed to $4.1 billion by 2024. Crocs nearly bankrupted themselves trying to apologize for what they were. They only reached this scale when they stopped running from their strange aesthetic and accepted it as their primary asset. They proved that for a brand, being impossible to ignore is more valuable than being conventionally attractive.